Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, the Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store. And good afternoon, Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League fans. I'm your host, Graham, the GShow Forsyth of the Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League podcast. Hopefully everyone's doing well. This is episode 20, season 2. We're brought to you by Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Make Cannon Fasteners and Tools, Terrico as well as goaltenders. Thank you to them for continuing to support the coverage of everything we do here on the network, and specifically for this podcast, the Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League content that we put out. Should be a fun one today. We're riding solo, but there is a lot to talk about. Last night, the All-Star game happened. It was a win for Team White in an absolute barn burner. We'll get to the final score and the stats and really the story from the All-Star game later on in this show. We're also going to dive into one team in particular, talking about if they could go on a run or not, talking about also how important this upcoming month of February is going to be, and what's it going to tell us. And the mmjhl season is officially there. Is no more question who's going to be in the playoffs with River East, the Royal Knights, their loss on Friday to the Charleswood Hawks. That officially eliminated River East from playoff contention. As these are the games today, we're going to be starting up very soon here at 2:45 p.m. with Riels and Canucks, 4:45 p.m. at Terry Sawchuk. The Knights taking on the St. Vital Junior Victorias. Not as much for them to play for anymore, except for pride at this point in the year, and plain spoiler, as yes, the Vics have secured a playoff spot, but they definitely would like to snap their 3-game losing streak at this point. A couple of heavyweights battling each other in Charleswood and Fort Garry. That one going tonight at 6:30 at Century Arena. The Twins at home, and in Morris, the Raiders traveling to face off against the Pembina Valley Twisters. Will that 11-game losing streak be broken? We will find out after tonight. Raiders also looking to break their losing streak as well. I was there at 5 games, but they've ended up clinching the playoffs, as we can see there. The 8 spots have been determined at this point. The only things that remain to be answered are things like who's going to get first place, the top positions within the top 4. It's still very possible we're going to see a lot of movement throughout that. And what about the St. James Junior Canucks? Can they catch up to the St. Vital Junior Victoria as well? The Canucks, as of late, things have been pretty interesting for this franchise. The state of the Canucks right now, well, they ended up parting ways with their first-year head coach in Blake Harris, in a story that we reported on GShow Productions. Near the start of this week, it might have been on the weekend, it was either on Sunday or on Monday, Justin Steeves, president of the St. James Junior Canucks, and the man who ended up making this call didn't tell me the exact date, but when I messaged him, it was on Monday. He ended up, I believe, getting back to me on Monday, and he said it's been a tough couple of past days. 2 days, as I should say. So, yeah, in terms of what ended up happening is the Canucks parted ways with head coach and Blake Harris, as well as their two assistant head coaches in Jordan Mickelson and Mike Sigfusson. My apologies, Mike Sigfusson. Taking over as interim head coach as of right now, and Ryan Dick, who was the head coach and general manager of the Pembina Valley Twisters team, who ironically defeated the St. James Junior Canucks back in the 2018-19 championship series. The assistant coaches will be Cal Ladebrook and Ryan Toothill, who I don't believe they've coached with each other before, from what Justin Steves told me when I asked him if they were on the same coaching staff, since I couldn't really find anything on assistant coaches from that team. Justin Steves said that, of course, they hadn't coached together before. But in terms of Blake Harris, Sigfusson as well as Mickelson, this has been a coaching staff that has been a part of the St. James Junior Canucks organization for the past few seasons, have been a part of championship squads, and they know what the standard is, and unfortunately they were unable to meet it. St. James, of course, certainly hasn't been bad this season. They've definitely gotten better and did under Harris and his staff. It's just throughout the past 8 games that was leading up to that firing, that's what Justin Steves said was really a big determining factor in it, since St. James was slumping. A team that, of course, has been at the top of the standings for the past 3 seasons, has been first place for the past 3 seasons, and of course has won all of their series and have won championships, have three-peated or looking for a 4-peat this year. It's just this move sets the standard in St. James right now in terms of underachieving isn't good enough. And for the St. James Junior Canucks, just taking a look at them in their last 10, even after making the move to fire Harris and his 2 assistants, they've gone 0-2 since then. So it's going to be really interesting coming down the line here to see how much of a player issue this could be, how much of a leadership issue this could be, really dissecting this, because it's just crazy to see the St. James Junior Canucks in this spot where, sure, they're in the playoffs, they've clinched, but they're not in the top 4. They're 6th place right now. And in terms of what they've gone in their last 10 games, they've gone 3-6-1. So, it was sloppy leading up to the last couple games under Harris, and his staff were now gone from the St. James Junior Canucks. And for St. James, this is a team with, I guess, a few issues right now in terms of how they're ranking near the bottom of the league and the goals they've let in. But also Rory Neal, he's their best player. Things haven't gone too smoothly for him lately. He said some pretty nasty stuff that I won't say here on the show, from what I've heard from a source that's been very reliable for me this year, out of respect for him, keeping him anonymous. But I've heard parents speculating about it and talking about it, and from what I heard, it's not great. And he's the captain, he's the leader. And St. James, throughout these past 3 seasons, their leadership and their culture has been top notch, and now that's kind of being questioned and being challenged, I think, at this point. And the best way to silence criticisms and to just shut people up is to go out and win, and that's what the St. James Junior Canucks team has done very well over the past 3 seasons, of course, three-peating, and I think bringing in a veteran head coach who has won a championship, that's been there before, in Ryan Dick, that is, like I said, ironically, coached against that St. James Junior Canucks team when they ended up winning the championship back in 18-19, being that Twisters team in 7 games. But that Twisters team was first place throughout the season, and I think that Ryan Dick comes into a situation with his new staff where this St. James team, even though they've lost key pieces throughout the year, they built throughout the season to get to a point where, they're still a few points behind. St. Vitalin could very well move into the 4 or 5 position. As sloppy as it's been, and as much as it hasn't been up to the St. James standard as we've been used to seeing, I think that with Ryan Dick, if he's able to come in and find some sort of buy-in from this group of players that has a lot of talent, and we've seen it this season, I think that there's still some hope for St. James to potentially make a run in the playoffs. It's just Dick has to get that buy-in, and hopefully the situation itself with the players figures itself out. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. As coming up at 2:45, action is going to be starting here in the league for this Sunday. 8 teams in action. Going to be a lot of fun. Stick with us, or stick with myself, as I should say, Graham, the GShow Forsyth, as we're going to play you some highlights here before we get ready to talk about the All-Star game, as well as talking about a few other topics here on this Sunday afternoon on the 20th episode of Season 2 of the mmjhl podcast, brought to you by McCann Fasteners and Tools, Terrico, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, as well as goaltenders. We're going to hit you with some highlights, and we'll be back for more after this. Good afternoon, Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League fans. Welcome into our first February broadcast of the MMJHL's regular season here from Transcona and East End Arena, featuring the Transcona Railer Express taking on the visiting St. James Junior Canucks. I'm your host and play-by-play commentator for this afternoon's action, Graham the GShow Forsyth, on your home for MMJHL Hawk, trying to shield this puck from Campbell, but nice stick from number 8 to take it away. Phillips fumbles with it, and now stripped away by Jackson Sorrell on a breakaway, coming in on hands. Day goes out, just misses the net. Is the net off? No, it isn't. Stays on its bearings as here come the Canucks down the other way. Tar Jansen backdoor scores! Tar Jansen with a beauty of a feed, backdoor to Thorsteinson, Brady Thorsteinson, number 14, as it makes it a 1-0 lead for the Canucks to open the scoring in this one. As Vandenbush tries sending this down low, but couldn't. Kicked and held in by Bruchansky as he works to the middle of the point. Tipped and scores! Bruchansky throws it towards the net, where I think it takes a double deflection. Last off the stick of Evan Chudley as he ties this game up at 1 apiece for his Railer Express squad. 20 seconds remains on this 5-on-3, worked across. Bruchansky gets it right back. Back over to Larkins, into the slot, rebound there, scores! It's 2 on the afternoon for Chudley. That's 2 unanswered for Transcona as they take their first lead of the afternoon in last year's MMJHL Championship Series. Right now, looking to kill it off for the St. James Canucks. This power plays that shot. Fanned on backdoor, scores! Or not backdoor, rather cross ice pass to the left face-off circle to Trace Sullen. Defending him well was Campbell. Up the boards to McClure goes as he passes this up off the skate of Vandenbush, in now and stride scores! It's the captain who gives his Railer Express a bit more separation on the scoreboard. 4-1 they lead with 9:16 remaining. Then all the way out, this goes 4-on-2 developing over to the slot for Grindle, behind the back pass to Goodbranson, backdoor pass put away by Magnum Grindle, and there we go for the Canucks. Striking for the first time on the power play this afternoon. Thanks for being with us this Sunday afternoon, everybody. This was the first game, of course, that was on the schedule. As this backdoor scores! Grindle again finishes off a pass, this time from Romanek. And all of a sudden, the Canucks within one in this one. Nice job to cut through the D there and to make his way through. Vandenbush chips it to himself and makes it all the way down. Coming back, good Branson Vandenbush turned aside by Ends. With 10 seconds remaining, the Railer Express just send this down. Getting on it first is Johnson. Do we see one more chance here? One more shot as Johnson tries to turn and fire. Huge hit on Charlie Jansen by Kyle Todoruk. 17:15 the time remaining, 39-17 the shots in favor of Transcona. Is unable to hold the line off of that face-off win. As Werfel, the boys, taken out hard by Whiteman. 16 had him lined up and delivered the blow. There's been some times where they've had to just let these teams play. There's been a lot of calls that have been warranted, but some of them a bit weak. And this one is shot enough to Angles, pass to Sullen, turned aside by Ends. This draw won by the Railers. That quick one-timer off the draw that they love to set up. Backdoor now deflects in front, just off the stick of Turner wide. Tries to send this down low, but cut off by Phillips. Up the middle to Romanek. How's good Branson heading into that. Romanek, nifty dangle from 11. His shot turned aside. There's a bunch of commotion on the ice right now. Trent Thorsteinson, a little nifty move to cut through. He pulls up, off the iron. Thorsteinson goes so close to tying this one up after his team was reeling then. So can Grindle be big time again? He does. Good Branson tried to poke it through again, but couldn't. And now it's Vandenbush. He'll look to skate it in. Vandenbush makes his way through, and number 2 for 22 on this Sunday afternoon puts his Railer Express back up by 2. To officially seal this one away, I'd say, with 13.7 seconds left.
Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools has been the place to shop for your industrial needs for over 20 years. Carrying the tools you need to get the job done from the brands you can trust, Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools has you covered. Brands like Milwaukee Tool, established in 1924 and on display in our Milwaukee Red Zone, the largest red zone in Winnipeg. With construction workers and tradespeople in mind, Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools is your one-stop shop for all your industrial needs. So come on down to our Winnipeg store location today, located on 1557 King Edward Street in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
And welcome back to this edition of the Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League podcast. Just wanted to make a bit of a correction, just if anyone misunderstood it. But excuse me there. When I was talking about the players that St. James had lost, I was talking about from last season throughout the off-season, from players like their goaltender Noah Gilbert, Brady Whiteley, Tyrone Willen, Captain Cale Price, those players aging out of this league. Those were the biggest losses for that group. Of course, Tyrone Willen, back-to-back scoring championships, and had an unbelievable final game too, scoring a hat-trick in Game 5 last season to clinch that three-peat for St. James. And speaking of the St. James Junior Canucks, Rory Neal, as much as I was critical of him a bit earlier on in this episode, before we went to the highlights, he continues to own the Defenseman of the Month awards as he wins his 4th Defenseman of the Month award of the season. Congratulations to him. Nathan Lenoski, we saw him tear it up with a hat trick early at the start of 2025, and he was unbelievable. 18 points in 6 games played this month. Could have had more if he was in the lineup for more of it. For the Goaltender of the Month award, Michael O'Sullivan. No goaltender was better than him throughout this month. He had the 3 wins. Unbelievable save percentage and goals against average of under 1. Don't usually look too much into that stat, since I think that is more of a team stat than anything, but yeah, that is very impressive, to say the least. In the 245 minutes he played, only giving up 4 goals throughout the whole month. Spencer Hunnam, the first non-Railer Express to win the Rookie of the Month award, but the trend continues for goaltenders continuing to win this award. Is Hunnam unbelievable himself throughout this month. We saw one of those games in Stonewall where they ended up taking the Railer Express for a ride, to be honest with you. It ended up being quite a close game on the scoreboard for a while because of Hunnam, and unbelievable month for him, as mentioned. Those awards will be coming out, I think, 1 more month for sure in February, but regular season is going to be coming to a close here soon, as they'll be wrapping things up in early March. As for the points leaders, though, Dean Gorchinski continues to have an unbelievable season. 84 points, on track for 100 at this point. As for the Fort Garry Twins with 6 games left, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Dean did it. Carter Halamandaris 3 points away from breaking 80. Rory Neal continues to have an amazing year, but is going to miss some time due to being suspended. Tyler Rubini and Connor Davis all tied with Rory Neal there in points for 3rd. As for the goaltending leaders, no goaltender with more wins than Keegan Gordon still, as he's at 22, but Alex Pauls 4 within 18 with a 18-2-2 record, 5 shutouts on the season. Logan Maroney earned a shutout this past Friday as well, as they ended up putting the brakes on the Pembina Valley Twisters. As we take a look at the games to start off this week. Started on a Tuesday with Charles Wood taking down the St. James Junior Canucks, and Ryan Dix returned to behind a bench in the mmjhl for St. James. Doubleheader on Thursday night, which saw the Transcon Railer Express win 8-0, and back-to-back shutouts as they also defeated the Pembina Valley Twisters 10-0. As for the points leaders, though, and the goaltending leaders, Logan Maroney now up to 15 wins. He's tied with Michael O'Sullivan now, who had a night off on Friday in preparation for the All-Star game, which happened last night. As for the goals leaders, Halamandaris and Rubini now tied at 30 apiece. Turner sitting comfortably in 3rd right now, in that 3 and 4 spot, depending on if Gorchinski is able to pass him or tie him. He's got a 4-point lead in the goal category over Rory Neal, who, Neal, taking a look at the statistics, is tied for 5th in goals. As the stats on the screen load here, tied with number 24 in David Balshaw, as well as his fellow teammate in Griffin Height. The stats brought to you by Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia. Assist leaders, no ties here, as we can see, as Halamandaris, a bit of separation from Davis, a tiny bit of separation from Neal, and Gorchinski with a ton of separation from everyone here from the rest of the pack. As mentioned, brought to you by Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, our points, goalie, goals, and assist leaders from the mmjhl. This is what's to come Wednesday and Thursday in the league. We won't have any broadcasts coming up until next Sunday, where it'll be Riel's taking on the Fort Garry Twins, which I'm really excited about. That could potentially be the game of the year that we cover here on the network, but it may not be able to top the Charles Wood and Fort Garry game that ended up being a 7-6 win for Charles Wood. What a game that was a bit earlier on now. for us in this 2024-2025 season as we continue to roll on here on the mmjhl podcast. We are going to get into the All-Star game here coming up after this next set of highlights. Railers and the Vics battled each other not too long ago here on our network on a Thursday night, so not this past Thursday, but Thursday before, which saw a close battle between these two teams that, well, we won't spoil it for you. We're going to play that now. Then we'll get into the All-Star game, how that went coming up here on the mmjhl podcast on GShow Productions on GShow.ca for episode 20 in season 2.
Welcome into MMJHL Game Day, ladies and gentlemen, MMJHL fans on your home for MMJHL Hockey on GShow Productions. I'm your host, Graham, the GShow Forsyth. We're brought to you by Terraco, Cannon Fasteners and Tools, Goaltenders, and Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia. We got a great one tonight. The Victoria's St. Vital hosting the Transcona Railer Express. As goes Carter Wilson, flips us into the neutral zone, glove down by Kyle Todoruk as he dangles to the middle. Todoruk tries to dangle past Philippe Couldn't, tipped on net after a fan shot rebound there, poked up by Vic, off the side of the net now by Johnson. That shot, just wide of the net. It's Aiden Anderson on the rush. Kirkness lays the body. First one on in here was Keaton Johnson. Plays it down low to Sorrell, gets this to Shadenow, plays it back to Sorrell. Tries going to the slot, but cut off nicely there by Gilson. Turned over, though, back to Sorrell. Dangles through, what a move! Sorrell into the back of the net for a highlight reel to open this one up with a 1-0 Railer Express lead from the Centennial. It's not a goal of the year candidate, it just may be. As the Victoria is able to take this away and work it up. Aiden Anderson cuts to the middle. They're able to hold the line. This kicked outside of the net. That in scores. The Victoria is able to tie it up. I believe it's Anderson to Anderson here. So that's Nolan who puts it in the back of the net. And like that, the Victoria is off a rush. Tie this matchup up at 1 apiece. Work one more chance towards the net. It's their most dangerous player in Rubini out there. This up the middle, reverse hit by McClure, and he gets blown up right there afterwards by Goretzky. Played up to Rubini off of his stick, now turned over onto Gillison. Stick tried to spin around and feed it behind the back pass, but couldn't get it there as the Railers work this up. Drop back to Johnson, feeds his back door, tucked in, no save made by Tebek. As this ends up in the neutral zone, Imbrogno plays it back to Kirkness, who gets taken out hard by Shadenow. As this turned over, the Victorias skating in a 3-on-2 development, dropped over, and now that shot almost through Maroney. The pass off the boards, cross ice for the Railer Express. This is a team that also likes to stretch it, and we've seen as O'Sullivan ends up into the bench as he comes out of the Victoria's bench. Did not see that. As Keaton Johnson spins away down low. Drops this to the point to Bruchansky. As Bruchansky feeds this to the slot, scores! Jackson Sorrell's second of the game puts his Railer Express back up top. By the Victorias. Skated up. Jaquette passes to Edwards, who gets blown up there in the middle of the ice. The back door of the net, but it gets taken away, working up. Mitchell tries to dangle through, gets bumped off his line towards that puck in the corner. Afterwards, Vic hit from behind, and now another hit coming in, this time from Victoria. Code takes exception to that. As this into the neutral zone, stripped away. Luke Elliott has a few men with him, tries dropping in the back. Nice defensive stick by Declan Whiteman. As the Vics flip this out. Past the glove of Roan. Given Jason by is Blake Lee, but goes wide of the net with that chance. By the Railer Express, onto the stick of Trey Sellen. Cuts to the middle. Sellen shielding before taking a hit. To Campbell, that goes that shot. Rebound there. Turned aside by Tebek. Up top to Bruchansky. Back onto the backhand. Abandoned Bush. He goes to Chudley. Off of Chudley's stick, though, as he couldn't cradle it cleanly. Dangles through Chudley. What a move! Turned aside by Tebek, though, on that chance he had, and is taken up by Shadenow. Has Johnson with him. Shadenow back into the net. Rebound there. Scores! Johnson puts away the trash. The Railer Express go up by 2 with 7:52 remaining in this third period of action. Attempting to go up the middle with it, where the Vics As nice dangles there by Baron Baker, making two-man miss. Or two men misses, I should say. Is that into the low slot? Denying him was Maroney. And Shadna fires this wide. As this rims around, Cole gets lit up at the point there to back out of his own net to play this. Over to Aiden Anderson, who faked one way, went the other. Nolan Vandenbush takes him down, no call here on the play. Vandenbush gets loose, backdoor feed, denied. Is that unable to get through the body of Carter Wilson, and with that, it's the Railer Express, who will win the season series against the Junior Victorias. Winning it 3-2 on the season, winning this game here tonight.
Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry upper deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, the Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store.
And welcome back to the Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League podcast. Episode 20 in Season 2 rolls along here. Hope you enjoy the highlights. Produced by our editor and Mad Beardy. Thank you to him for all the great work he does. As always, more highlights from recent games coming your way soon, as we're going to be uploading them hopefully on YouTube soon. Things have been pretty wild lately. I've been having a bunch of technical difficulties, and it's a lot of fun for sure. Got a plant yesterday, which was fun to take care of that, and been a more relaxing weekend, to be honest with you, with no games on a Saturday or a Sunday today. As for the Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League, this is how the week has started off on Tuesday, doubleheader on Thursday, and 4 games on Friday, as we usually see here in this league. That's usually the standard. Transcona, a big back-to-back shutout performance for them over the course of those 2 days. 18 goals for combined against Stonewall and Pembina Valley. And as for Transcona, they will be having the day off today. As for the Twins, they're going to be playing 3 games in 4 days, as they also played on Friday. Ended up besting the St. James Junior Canucks, as you saw there. Looking to make it 11 wins in a row tonight. Raiders, Pembina Valley, one of them has to end that long losing streak that they are on. My money is on the Raiders, to be honest with you, but let's see what Pembina Valley has in them. Could they play spoiler? Even though there's not much to spoil at this point, Raiders locked in at 8th, probably 7th place at best, as the season coming to an end here very shortly. Here are the standings and how the first round could play out right now. It would be Fort Geary taking on the Raiders, Charleswood taking on Stonewall, Transcona taking on St. James, and a St. Boniface, St. Vital first round. That could be a lot of fun. Huge rivalry there, of course. And Paul Casas used to be a part of the St. Vital Junior Victoria's coaching staff. Of course, he is now the head coach of the St. Boniface Riels, who could very well jump up into first place once this season is all said and done after game 45. Still about 6, 5, 7 games left for some of these teams. As we can see there, the only team with 7 games left, St. James. Those standings brought to you by Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, your one-stop shop for cards here in Winnipeg, mixing up, as I do all the time, their slogan with Mid-Canada from time to time. It's Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store, as I should have said. But in terms of the All-Star game, let's get into that. As it happened yesterday, it was Team White taking on Team Blue, and it was Team White who came away with a 12-6 victory, or 12-9 victory. you can see there in the 2025 All-Star Game that was held at Terry Sawchuk Arena. Team White getting the win, which their roster consisted of players from the St. Vital Junior Victorias, the Raiders Junior Hockey Club, the Fort Garry Twins, the Transcona Railer Express, and the River East Royal Knights. There were also quite a few changes to the lineup for both sides. As for, let's start off with Team White. Dayton Kiesman ended up not playing in this game. He was replaced by, from what I can read from this game sheet that was sent to me, Jackson Zook from the Raiders Junior Hockey Club. Rylan Netchwooduk was not present in this game. He was replaced by Ezekiel Kirkness. And yeah, for the other replacements, doesn't look like there was any other for this Team White squad, who ended up, of course, taking the 12-9 victory. As for Team Blue, Thorn Chang ended up subbing in for his teammate in Peyton Bateman. As for Rory Neely, he ended up missing. Aiden Bruce ended up subbing in for him. And yeah, those were all the changes for Team Blue from what I can see. They had the rest of their guys going outside of that. Nate Vake Fussin actually was also playing in this matchup. He was in for, I was trying to take a look, as, yeah, I'm not too sure who he was in for, to be honest with you, but Nathan Vigfussen ended up playing, and yeah, I think like a 12-9 All-Star game, it's everything you want in an All-Star game in terms of high scoring. I wasn't there, but I mean, this league is physical. There's a lot of bad blood between a lot of these players that got to face off against each other, I'm sure. Maybe not bad blood between all of them. Some of them are good friends, as you know, you come to learn throughout covering a league like this. And I think that's bound to happen, how friendships will be made, players knowing each other from beforehand, right? This isn't the biggest city out there, the biggest province, small hockey world at the end of the day. But yeah, talked about last week players that might have been snubbed from this game, but it didn't disappoint from the players who were there. Seems like they put on a show. Multiple players wore the same numbers as you could see there, so I'm going to try to take a look at the stat sheet that was sent to me. As yeah, the All-Star game in review. Ezekiel Kirkness ended up having a huge game for himself, as he had a goal, 3 assists, and also another one. So 2 goals, 3 assists on the night for Team White in a victory for them. Tyler Rubin, he ended up getting on the board with the goal and a few assists for Team White. In terms of Dean Gorchinski, he didn't disappoint. Looks like he had a few goals in there. Yeah, overall a pretty solid game from this team that was, of course, composed of the Vics and Twins, most notably, 2 teams that don't really like each other, putting aside their differences for this game. And that's what you gotta love as well, right? That they were able to play with each other and work some magic. As for Team Blue, they were highlighted by the St. Boniface Riels, and it was the St. Boniface Riels captain, Connor Davis, who ended up showing out in this one. 2 goals, a few assists in there. 1 assist, actually, to be specific. But yeah, overall, like, I'm pretty sure both these goaltenders, the 4 goaltenders that ended up playing, split some time. Congratulations to Team White. That was composed of, just trying to think, Alex Pauls and Evan Monera. Coaching staff for Team White was Derek Gagnon, and the rest of the Railer Express coaching staff for Team Blue, it was Charles Wood's coaching staff led by Dylan Smith. And yeah, I mean, yeah, what else do you want from an All-Star game, right? Like 12-9, competitive, players showing out, showcasing their skills, and a few players in particular having huge games in Ezekiel Kirkness, as mentioned, Dean Gorchinski, Connor Davis, and the best in the mmjhl showing out last night on a Saturday at Terry Sawchuk Arena, hoping it's in a venue where we can actually broadcast in next season, to be honest with you. But the St. Vital Junior Victorias, this is a team that is quite banged up right now at this point in the season. They were without, a few key players to say the least on Thursday night in their most recent loss to the Fort Garry Twins. Still without Rylan Etcheduke in the lineup, who, of course, he's a top-end player in this league. They didn't have Lucas Gilson. Aiden Anderson was out. Carter Wilson on the back end. And this has been a continuous theme with the Junior Victorias, but yet, looking at the standings, this team finds themselves in 5th place with a chance to secure that if they're able to do the job in games like today coming up, as they take on the River East Royal Knights, which, going to be interested to see by the score if River East comes out with any sort of fire or mojo, given that their season is officially over. Now that they're eliminated, these games that they'll be playing for the rest of the way are going to be played for pride, of course. But as for the St. Vital Junior Victorias, 44 points this season. A team that, let's not forget, at a certain point early on in the year was first place and was absolutely rolling. And, a team that has still shown that they can go out and beat some of the best teams in this league, but have struggled for sure down the line against, teams like the St. Boniface Riels when they ended up, the last few matchups, St. Boniface shutting them down and putting up some offense in a big 6-1 victory, I believe. But, can the Vics go on a run? Tyler Rubini, of course, in his last season, he's one of the best players in this league. I would say a top 5 player who still top 5 in points. A team that has had players like Kobe Edwards step up this season. Players like Ezekiel Kirkness step up as well. Lucas Gilson, when he's been healthy and in the lineup, has been able to add even more offensive jump to a team that is, a team that has put the puck in the net quite a bit this season. Taking a look at the numbers, it's a Victoria's team who, with 20 wins, 15 regulation losses, 4 extra time losses, has the 6th most goals per game in this league. The issues with them this season, though, have come on special teams. They've had trouble sometimes getting out of their own zone, being hemmed in, and that's a real problem for a team that, when they're at their best, they're playing with speed, they're playing freely, and they're able to get into the opposition zone and create some havoc. And as we've seen, they've been able to go out and beat a team like the Transcona Railer Express, in 2025, maybe not most recently, but in their second last game of the season against them. And a huge part of that was this team just wasn't sitting back, and they were playing aggressive and utilizing their speed while getting their cycle game going. They got more offensive skill now on the D-core than I've seen in the past 3 seasons by adding in Blake Goretzky. Brady Jaquette has had a bounce-back year for himself, in my opinion. And Dayton Kiesman, even though he didn't play in the All-Star game, named an All-Star. And, we've seen how great his ability is on the back and how he's been able to create there. The problem lies, though, for this team when they get into their own end. Even though they're 5th in goals against per game this season, ranking higher than their goals for, which wasn't the case up until very recently. This is still a team that, has shown too many inconsistencies, and that's the big thing. Also, their health coming into question, right? As, Rylan Etcheduke still continues to miss time, and he's going to be a big factor for this team if they want to go far in the playoffs. But yeah, the questions are, can they get healthy, and can they find consistency? That game against the Fort Garry Twins, most recently, they only lose at 2-1, but they gave up 57 shots in that matchup. And that's just not going to cut it if you want to sustain and have a long run in the playoffs. But if they do end up having to rely on their goaltending, Penner's a goaltender that has proven himself this season, has over a 904 or over a 900 save percentage at 904, doesn't have any shutouts, but if any game prove that he's a goaltender that can keep you in a game and give you a chance, giving up 2 goals on 57 shots against the Fort Garry Twins, a team that dominated the Victorias in that game. I think Penner gives the Victorias a lot of confidence moving forward in that regard. But yeah, the big thing for the Vics is this, to end it off. Pretty much rephrasing what I just said. They got the top end talent. We've seen it within that top 6 this year. They got so much talent on the defensive side of things. But lately, we've seen this team wanting, I think, more from the coaching staff for their players. Jeff Mitchell, general manager, has stepped back onto the bench, and things are getting into desperate times. And desperate times may call for desperate measures in terms of your former head coach, who is a GM now for your team, now coming back onto the bench. But for this Victoria's team, Tyler Rubini came back. When there's questions he may not to pursue, more serious things in school and in a program, he declined that to come back to this Victoria's team. And, it looked like things were smooth sailing to start off the season, but they've had a lot of downs, and they've had ups this season, but a lot of downs. And I think this is a team that can put it together, that can go on a run. But like I've said, it comes down to consistency, and it comes down to if this team can be healthy. And they still have a lot to prove. Even though they've proven they can beat top-end teams, they still have been inconsistent against, top-end teams on nights where they haven't exactly brought their A game, right? So I think for this Vics team, can they find a way to put it all together? Can their top-end talent prevail? Can they get help from their supporting cast? And can this team stay healthy? I think those are going to be the biggest things for this St. Patel squad moving forward here, if they want any chance to go on a championship run. What will the rest of February tell us here in the Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League? Well, as we see the schedule here today, as we take a look, we're going to find out if Fort Garry can continue to keep their win streak going, if they can make it 11. Can Charleswood make it to 8 straight wins? Can the Vics get going once again, right, on a 3-game losing streak? Can St. James, get back to their winning ways and find a way to stay above 500 as they're on a 2-game losing streak and are facing off against one of the hottest teams in the league, against the Riels? And like I already talked about, something has to give between the Raiders and the Pembina Valley Twisters, right, in terms of who is going to end their losing streaks there. But yeah, I think that for the rest of this month, what it's going to tell us, it's going to tell us truly how the top-end teams are going to match up with each other, or how they match up with each other at this point in the year. Like, in terms of the top 4 teams who are going to be playing against each other, Fort Garry and Charleswood coming up today, of course, as mentioned. And then St. Boniface, they're not playing a top 4 team, but they're playing against a team who they could very well play in the first round coming up on Thursday in the St. Patel Junior Victorias. How do the St. James Junior Canucks fare in their next few games after today's matchup against the Riels, playing a team where they should be able to win it, looking at the teams on paper, with them taking on the Stonewall Jets, with them not being completely healthy right now? And then, yeah, just as this month comes to an end, like on the 21st, we got Transcona taking on Charleswood, which those have been entertaining matchups back and forth all season long, which some of them have even gone into overtime. And to end off the month, like Transcona and Fort Garry, and then St. Boniface and Charleswood. So I think these matchups could give us a very good indicator of how these teams could look against each other, could match up against each other, which teams could, look to take an advantage heading into where these teams would match up in the Final Four. A lot these teams can learn from these games as well, so close to the playoffs, rather than if you were to face off against these opponents a month earlier here, because a lot could change in your game. Maybe you didn't make the same trades that you ended up making before you played these opponents last. I know that for some of these opponents, they've played each other more recent than some of the other opponents that are going to be facing off against each other within these top four. But yeah, I think this is going to be a good indicator, a good measuring stick heading into playoffs for both these teams and where they're at, and could give us a good preview of how the Final Four could go this season. And yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun heading into the final weeks of the 2024-2025 regular season. We can't wait to broadcast the rest of the games near the end of this month, as this upcoming week we're taking a bit of a break from covering mmjhl hockey, as we're going to be prioritizing the Manitoba Female U18 AAA Hockey League, as they are starting off their playoffs this Tuesday night in Winnipeg, with the Winnipeg Ice taking on the Pembina Valley Hawks. Speaking of the Manitoba Female Hockey League, we are going to be doing our MFHL playoff special coming up in just about an hour here at 3 p.m. Can't wait to bring you the mmjhl playoff special coming up later in the upcoming month of March, before playoffs start off in the where we'll have a whole bunch of great content planned for you all then. But for now, we're going to end off this edition of the mmjhl podcast after this next commercial break, and I'll be back with some final words here on this Sunday afternoon on February 16th in 2025. Stick around, everybody.
Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools has been the place to shop for your industrial needs for over 20 years. Carrying the tools you need to get the job done from the brands you can trust, Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools has you covered. Brands like Milwaukee Tool, established in 1924 and on display in our Milwaukee Red Zone, the largest red zone in Winnipeg. With construction workers and tradespeople in mind, Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools is your one-stop shop for all your industrial needs. So come on down to our Winnipeg store location today, located on 1557 King Edward Street in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
And you made it to the end of this edition of the mmjhl podcast. I've been your host, Graham, the GShow Forsyth. We went solo today, a lot that I ended up talking about. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, consider subscribing and leaving a like on this episode so you don't miss out on future uploads. The next edition of the podcast comes out next week, most likely on Thursday, so stay tuned for that on our social media pages as well as on our website. We'll have the full schedule posted. As for the mmjhl, taking a look again at how this day is going to be going. There's going to be 4 matchups, starting off with St. Boniface at Abe McDonald Arena, the Civic Center, to take on the St. James Junior Canucks. Ryan Dick and his crew in search of breaking that losing streak today, and Dick looking for his first win as a junior Canuck as their new head coach. Vicks Royal Knights taking on each other at 4:45 p.m. at Terry Sawchuk. A couple of heavyweights and Charleswood and Fort Garry taking on each other. And then Raiders and Pembina Valley looking to break those long losing streaks, as one last time these are how the standings look heading into this Sunday. going to be, busy in the MMJHL to end off this month, as well as in March. Our broadcast schedule is going to be returning to MMJHL game day coverage for live streams of games coming up on the 23rd, so next Sunday, with Riels and Twins. We can't wait for that, and we can't wait also for the next edition of the MMJHL podcast. This one, as always, brought to you by McKenna Fasteners and Tools, Terraco Goaltenders, and Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia. Thanks for watching, MMJHL fans. Enjoy all the great MMJHL hockey coming your way today, as well as throughout the next week, and really the rest of the way this season. We'll be with you every step of the way. Until next time, I've been your host, Graham the GShow Forsyth, giving you the peace out and waving so long, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.